listener production.
The creators of this podcast would like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which it is recorded. Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people are the first storytellers of this land. We pay respect to their elders, past, present and emerging, as well as any Indigenous people who may be listening today.
Hello and welcome to Two Guys One Earn, a cricket-adjacent podcast. It is 4 tests down in the Ashes now. Australia retain the Ashes 2-1 due to rain, but of course one game left in this series. The series itself still alive. England could come back for a tied series, or the Australians could take it home 3-1. Or of course, it could rain again and we could just win 2-1. That'd be fine as well. But joining me to talk about all those possibilities in the Ashes and cricket in general is the wonderful Dave Hughes. Hello,
Hey,
Hughesy.
Will. And yeah, I'm here to celebrate like the Aussies didn't celebrate. You know, they don't control the weather, and the English people are trying to blame the Australian cricket team for it raining. It's not our fault.
It's not our fault. I mean, we have been pumping so much carbon into the air. We've been digging up we've been doing our best to accelerate. If there's one country that disproportionately bats above its game when it comes to trying to increase climate change, it's a little country called Australia. We're trying to get rid of all rain. What are you talking about? It's not us.
Exporting droughts for decades now. So
come on, guys.
Definitely not our fault. So, and you know what? Your baz ball wasn't quick enough, guys. You didn't baz hard enough. So, you know, you wanted to baz for too long when you should have stopped bazzing and started bowling on that third day or fourth day, wasn't it? The fourth day. When did they baz too hard, too long?
I think they did baz too hard and too long, and this is the great irony of the baz ball is that it's meant to be short and sharp, but it was hard and long, and it was. They knew coming into this test. So this is the thing that I think you're saying that has been in the kind of aftermath of this test. It's like the rain was a surprise. Like, this ground has the highest percentage of days lost to rain of any cricket ground in the entire world. So it's always been like this. 10 years ago, it was like this and went against the Australians at the exact same ground. Yeah, the Sydney cricket ground is second, but this is like number one. They knew the forecast coming into this game. They knew it was going to be 3 days basically of play. That's the reason they batted the way they did and approached it the way that they did. And then they just refused.
Because their wicketkeeper, they want their wicketkeeper to get 100 or something, wasn't it? He finished on 98 or something, didn't he? The dopey wicketkeeper who just wanders out of his crease and then just sooks because our smart thinking wicketkeeper Carey does the right thing and stumps him, you know, even though that dopey keeper has tried to do the exact same thing so many times. God almighty, they're sooks.
I mean, so they batted too long and then complained about the fact for the last 2 days. They kept going, we've been ruined by rain, just 10 more overs. Then the next day, they got fucking 30 overs that they weren't meant to get at us between the rain in the worst of all conditions and managed to get one wicket.
Absolutely. You know what? We would have ended up probably scoring 800, I reckon, in that. If the rain stopped us, it stopped Mitch Marsh getting a triple century, I think, didn't it?
Which we've now got to take is get on the front foot of this. I think the rain cost us victory.
Yes, of course it did.
I mean, Marsh, is in great form, looks like a man in great form. Cameron Green was definitely due. Carey, I definitely think, was going to make runs. I reckon we were going to set them 250 to bat on the final
Hazelwood
day.
Was looking for he was going to score 400, right. Hazelwood.
Just had his eye in. That was the reports out of the net.
He got 5 wickets, didn't he? He got 5. He got a 5-er, didn't he? So he was just ready to go with the bat. It was going to be an all-round performance.
Yeah, he thinks he's the legitimate all-rounder in the team, not Mitch Marsh or Cam Green. Like,
exactly.
He was going to come on.
Yeah, so it was. I'm so happy that we have won the series. Well, we haven't won the series. I do want to go 3-1, I must say. That would be nice to get a 3-1 just to shut them up. Well, they're never going to shut up. They won't shut up, by the way.
Of course they're not going to shut up because they believe that they won the first test. Because remember, after the first test, they did a victory lap. They lost the first test and then did a victory lap of how well Bazball had gone and how intimidated the Australians were of it all. Then they lost the second test. I think I think they got cheated out of that one. That's the one they got cheated out of.
They
won the third one, and they should have won this one. So I think they think they're 4-0 up.
Yeah.
So
well, they can have their little illusions, and the more they complain, the better it is, actually. So, yeah, I actually do enjoy them complaining. Yeah.
This is the bit that I think is underrated also, is how there's a lot of people, and of course, in the pure sporting contest, I want them to go to the 5th test, and I'd love Australia to win 3-1. I think that would be fantastic, right? 2-2, that's probably pretty accurate for how the season, how the series has gone. We retain the Ashes, but the series would be tied. But the Aussies have gone over there to win. That's their aim, is to win this series. I would like to see that.
Yes.
But the fact that we won being rained out in England, I mean, there was something pretty funny about it. And just how mad it made everyone and just how angry they were. And I was like, you know what the problem here is? That we were 2-1 up. That's the problem, guys.
So we won the first 2 tests. Yeah, they're terrible. But you know what? Can I say, I just love the Ashes. I love the Ashes in England. I love the time it's on, even though I do breakfast radio. I love going to sleep with the radio on. It takes me back decades of 1989 was where I remember distinctly when Australia became a good cricket team after years of struggling with the West Indies and everyone else beating us. 1989 Ashes, Mark Taylor started scoring hundreds. Alan Border was still there. That's the series where Australian cricket got its strut back. And I was working in an abattoir at the time, and early starts in the abattoir. So I would go to bed early and put the radio on and just enjoy my time going to sleep, thinking about the sheep I was going to be involved in the deaths of.
Counting the sheep so you can wake up and go and murder the sheep.
I never murdered the sheep. They wouldn't trust me with a knife, mate. I used to lead the sheep to their deaths. So I was there. Sorry. I was their friend saying, "It's going to be okay. Just relax."
You were just following orders, man.
There's nothing to worry about here. I would actually talk to the sheep, and the other abattoir workers are going, "What are you doing?" I'm saying, "They're my friends. I just want them to be happy." No. That was then. Australia. And then Warney turned up the next Ashes series, didn't he? So.
That's right. So what's your – because I know that you were a very good junior footballer. Did you ever play cricket?
I love cricket. I was a traditional Aussie kid of the 70s and 80s who it was, in the southern states was AFL, and then in the winter, and then cricket in the summer. So, I was mad a cricket fan. I was a stats man as a kid. My mum would every birthday I would get a cricket book as a present, and my birthday was at the end of November, so it was cricket season. I remember the Ardmona cricket cards that you'd buy a can of peaches or whatever, or pears, and on the label you'd take the label off the can and you'd send that away. You'd had to get 3 labels from Ardmona, 3 cans, send the 3 cans labels away in an envelope, and then maybe 6 weeks later, a packet of cricket cards would turn up to your house. And it was so good, man. So good. You go to the letterbox and the cricket cards are here. And God, and it was back then. It was the rock stars of the 80s, the West Indies and then it was just the start of one day cricket. It was such an exciting time to be a cricket fan. I loved going to the cricket. I mean, we'd go to I was a country Victorian lad, and once a year we would go to a one-day game in Melbourne, and I would literally pray to God for 2 weeks out that it wouldn't rain on the day. I was like, just give me this. You have whatever you like, but just give me no rain so I can go to the one-day cricket. And I remember going up on country town, going up on a bus, with my mum, as a 7 or 8 year old, maybe 9-year-old, and on the bus was 50 or 60 of the drunkest country boys, like 19-year-olds, who had gone to the cricket to get absolutely obliterated drunk, and me and my mum just sitting there, just surrounded by carnage. We just wanted to go to the cricket. Anyway, I just love cricket, and I used to play. But you know what? I was really good in the nets, and they couldn't get me out of the nets. And I was an opening batsman. But I used to get so nervous when I'd go out to bat that I just couldn't. I could never put a score together, and it was just. I remember getting out for a series of ducks in my last year at cricket, like in the under 15s or whatever, and just getting laughed at as I walked off the ground. It was just humiliating. It was just they wouldn't let me bowl, so that was it for me.
You laugh now.
Yeah.
But one day this laughter is going to make me a lot of money. That's what you should have thought. He was
I didn't.
You know what?
At the time, it was just like, stop laughing at me. I put my heart and soul into this. And I could not handle as a cricketer was the sledging. You're blowing up to bat and someone in close field is just saying mean things about you. Like,
so mean.
Like, why would you say that?
I can't even remember how old I was when I first discovered that was part of the culture, because my dad loved cricket, but he was not that sort of character at all.
Yeah.
Very respectful, very much about the old traditions, the spirit of cricket, that sort of thing. And then that first time, I reckon I was only about 9 or 10 when I came up against, there was always one team that was like the bad in a kid's sporting movie.
Yeah.
There's always some bad team that's like, the Cobra Kai and the Karate Kid sort of thing. And I remember going out to bat and I was like, at one stage I wanted to turn to the slips and just be like, we're just playing a game. Why are you all being so mean to me?
But I couldn't handle it. I could not handle it. Like, why? You don't know me. Why would you say that?
It's so mean.
But I didn't have the gumption to back it up with runs, so I couldn't. So I just ended up walking off as they laughed at me. Like, and they're like, and I'm like, yeah, you were right. I'm shit. It was terrible. I remember actually in a grade 6 game where we played the school next door in primary school, and I was the opening batsman, but I was so conservative. It was like a 20 over a game, 20 overs each maybe, or maybe 10 overs. But I was just blocking the ball. And I soaked up about half the overs, made no runs, and eventually went out. And everyone else in my team was just saying, "You just ruined our day," because I took all the overs and did not make any runs. But I was so serious and it meant so much, and I was so hurt. It was like that was one of the most traumatic days of my school life. Of that. Me trying to do the right thing, but just not being able to make runs and just being hated by everyone. God, it was traumatic.
I mean, that is part of the thing about cricket, though, is that it's hard to, in a game like football where there's 18 players, on each team, so you've got 36 on the field, your ineptitude can actually fade into the background in general, right? It can get lost in the mix. But in cricket, there's such an intense... It's such a weird game in many ways, and I think about this a lot particularly when I'm watching Test match cricket, which is it's a team game, but it is absolutely an individual game within a team game, and then often it's 11 individuals against 2, they're out there, and then it's like it's a real bullying situation. Yes. You know what I mean? Part of the game is bullying, but then sometimes it's one bowler bullying one batsman. It's this real game within games and interaction with interactions, but it is hard, particularly when you're a batsman or a bowler who's just getting carted everywhere, when it's you can't just 2 balls into your over after they've both gone for 6s, just toss it to someone else and go, I'm done.
Maybe pull a hamstring and go, just get off the field. But anyway, after that series of ducks, which reminded me of Greg Chappell. Remember Greg Chappell went out for a series of ducks, and and I equated myself to him. I thought I was a champion player out of luck, like Greg Chappell.
Yeah, that's right.
But I just go.
Yeah, that's what I heard from Warrnambool around that time. They said, Dave Hughes is a great batsman. He just keeps getting out.
Anyway, I just go.
You should see him in the nets. That's what they used to say.
And they wouldn't give me a bowl. So that's 2 Saturday mornings and just sitting there, so I'm fielding or going out for a duck. So there's just I'm just not getting any joy out of it, just feeling terrible. And I went and got a job at the local Woolworths and started pushing trolleys around in the car park for the Saturday mornings, and ended up making some money and realising that was a better use of my time. So, but still love cricket. My finest moment in cricket really was the late great Shane Warne had a charity match on the MCG years ago, and I got to bowl. And I got a wicket actually. I got a Melbourne Storm player out.
All right.
God, Michael Crocker. I think it was Michael Crocker. Anyway, he was a really good Melbourne Storm player. But apparently, he was a champion junior cricketer. And I just went through the gate. I just got him through the gate. It was just.
Now, were you tempted to take that video footage and send it back to the
so
people who didn't give you a bowl?
You never gave
back
me a
in the
bowl.
juniors. Look at this.
And Mark,
here I am getting a wicket at the MCG.
Mark Tubby Taylor was umpiring that game, and he looked at me and said, "That was a good ball." And I said, "I think my life's complete." Mark Tubby Taylor said that was a good ball, and the Storm player Crocker, he was so angry he got out to me. Like, there was champion bowlers there, and he got out to me. And as a non-cricketer but a champion sports person, he wanted to prove himself out there. But mate, you got to go, mate. You got to go. That's out.
Yeah. It's one thing getting out to like Shane Warne or to like whoever else might be in that match having Damien Fleming's having a trundle. You can get out to Flem, that's fair enough. But to get out to Hughesy, who couldn't even get a bowl in the under-15s in Warrnambool, it's a bad day.
Perfect ball. I don't know. It moved just enough to get through. God, it was a great moment.
I mean, and you've got to imagine the amount of shit that was hung on him by his Storm teammates for months following that as well. You would have been top of mind. They probably called him Hughesy for 2 months after that.
I'm gonna reach out to him and say, does he remember it?
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Yeah. Does he remember? He's probably been sleepless since. He goes, that moment ruined my life.
It's a great game, cricket.
It is a great game. So this series in England, I mean, obviously started with the World Test Championships against
that was good.
India.
I loved winning that emphatically, really, as well. And bowled well in that. I know he hasn't had the best time in the Ashes. He's only played a bit, but what a story he has been. So and he did really well in that World Test.
Well, that's where we're playing. So this is the final match is at the Oval, which is where we played the World Test Championship. So we're going back there. So there could be a possibility that, look, it feels like Bazball's worked out Scott Boland a little bit, but that pitch is a lot more conducive to his style. Right. So there would be a possibility that he might be in the mix for the final test. You can't take Hazelwood out, though, can you, after you got 5 for... Didn't he? Unless he's sore.
Yeah, right. Yeah, he's coming in and out. Yeah, all right.
Yeah. So, but I would say, I mean, look, the truth of it is, I think if you, and I love to play amateur selector on this podcast, my team would have absolutely won the 4th test that I picked last week. But I do think they've got to give Nisa a bowl. Like, he's just been in such good form and he's such an English-style bowler that I'd really like them to see pick.
So who comes out then? Just one of the all-rounders or?
I mean, I think so. I think that you've got to play Nisa.
You can't not pick Mitch Marsh, can you, after his?
No, you got to pick Mitch
Cameron Green
Marsh.
Come out?
He was on his way to 400, I heard, in the 4th test.
Does Green come out? Does Green come out?
Yeah, I reckon Green comes out and you play Nisa, because Nisa made 176 recently. Yeah, right. He's made 200s this season in England. Yeah. So I think as much as I love Cam Green, and long term he's going to be, I think, he'll be probably one of our greatest cricketers ever in the long term. But I think that Nisa is a better bowler, in those conditions, and I think he'll make as many runs as Cam Green has sort of made in this series. So I reckon that might be the thing that I would change for the final test. I don't think they're going to drop Warner. You've taken him this far, and he did fine in this test.
God, I'd love to see him get a big 100, wouldn't you? I would love to see any of them get a big 100, but you'd love to see Warner just hang through and just, it's obviously his last hurrah. So, that would be well, maybe he's got it in him. I hope he does. Absolutely hope he does.
That would be the best.
Yeah.
Ideal scenario, final test, we go into it, team pretty much unchanged, let's just say, maybe one in for another, but let's just say team pretty much unchanged for the final test. They go in and Dave Warner makes a big 100.
Yeah.
just as a final fuck you to the English, just belt Stuart Broad all over the place.
Belt Broad. Fuck, I had no idea how many wickets Broad had got. 600. Jesus.
Yeah, but he's also played 160 plus tests.
What about Jimmy Anderson? He's about a 47. How old is Jimmy Anderson?
He's older than you and I.
Fucking hell. Crazy.
He is in his 40s, which is so old for a bowler.
Fast bowler. Crazy.
Yeah, this has got to be his last Ashes, obviously, but like he's got to be getting towards the end. You'd imagine Anderson. He hasn't had a great series, but Broad still looks like a pretty good bowler at 160 Test matches into his career. I remember back when making it to 100 seemed like the biggest deal in the entire world, and then this, like he might make it to 200. Tests.
No, he's bowling really well. Now, I mean, I should be closer around this, but there's how far away is Lyon from playing cricket at all? Do we know, or is it?
But he's not going to play. Yeah, he'll be back for the Australian summer.
I mean, that was a massive loss, and he's thank God for the weather, but his injury could have cost us retaining the Ashes. Otherwise, I would possibly. So.
100%. I think I've secretly suspected he's our most important player for a long time, but the best way for people to really realize that is for him to, the fact that he was just always there. And I think the style of Nathan Lyon is he's not Warney would take those, 8 for 23s and, those sort of things where you're just like, Nathan Lyon's more that just like, I'll take 3 this innings and I'll take 3 next innings and just does it all the time.
For a long
you can
time.
just rely on,
got it done.
You just pencil in Nathan, he'll get 2 or 3 wickets in every innings in any conditions anywhere in the world. That'll be
keep it pretty tight.
That's what he'll do. And 100 tests in a row, like the first time ever by a bowler. I mean, the irony of him injuring himself in that game, but he's been so missed from that team and the balance of that team.
Yeah, he's a fun guy. So I've had a bit to do with him. He's a bloody fun guy.
Have you?
I just not much, but he just seems like a down to earth sort of a character. And I tell you, he can roost a torpedo. I did a kick the Sharon across the Yarra a few years ago for a grand final, on Fox Sports or whatever. And so I did it in Ugg boots and it was a bad idea. But I should have taken it more seriously. But Lyon and Pat Cummins turned up, and I thought 2 Sydney-siders wouldn't have a clue how to kick an AFL ball. Both of them absolutely just smashed it. They both kicked like 60-metre torpedoes, and these guys are just natural sports people. Yeah, so both Lyon and Paddy Cummins were just and they just seemed like the most sort of gracious guys actually. So I know that Pat Cummins is loved by the team, and you can sort of, after spending a few moments in his presence, you can see that he's a good man. So
yeah, he is, isn't he? And of course, he absolutely infuriates a certain generation of Australian cricket fans because of that, who want him to be like some sort of old school, angry
asshole,
firebrand,
Alan Border / Steve Ward / sort of.
Well, why don't you just be angry at someone? Why don't you just yell at someone or say something really politically incorrect? He has handled, I think, this just every aspect of this campaign. I mean, he had a shocking test as a player, and I think that if you were realistically, if he wasn't captain, you'd probably rotate him out. He's played 5 tests in a row with the World Test Championship within a very short period of time. So he's probably due a rest, but he'll play in the final one because he's the captain. But I think off the field, he has handled everything so well.
Yeah,
he has he has got a really good knack for picking the exact right tone of in his press conference after this test where he admitted that it wasn't the ideal.
Yeah, I haven't seen him after this test. So what was he saying?
So you can imagine he's getting every sort of question from the English press, and it's and it was just real sort of well, I guess that's the advantage of being 2-1 up in the series, some real just facts.
Yeah.
was bringing just real facts to the table.
That's all. The advantage of being 2-1 up. We were 2-1 up.
Yeah, I guess that's the advantage of the series. It's like I don't make the rules. We'd still like to win, but I guess this is
why Bairstow shouldn't have wandered out of his crease.
Yeah, like an idiot. Maybe you shouldn't have declared early on the first day of the first test to show how big your dick was, and declared on the third day of the fourth test and giving yourself a chance of taking the wickets, maybe.
Yeah, that early declaration on the first day, that cost him. Yep, love it.
Well, I mean, this is the thing about that style, because, I mean, don't get me wrong. I've loved what Bazball has actually done for cricket. It is madness.
It's fun. Yeah, no doubt.
Like, watching them bat, in this fourth test, like particularly Crawley, their opener, and then, Bairstow at the end. It's just madness.
Yeah.
And you can imagine it would be so much fun as a cricketer to have the permission,
the license,
to just be like, like you would have never had those nerves of going out there and going.
I had a Bazballed it in grade 6.
Right?
God, if I had been a Bazballer, yes.
That's what you needed, though.
I needed McCullum on the sidelines. He's only my teacher.
It doesn't matter, Hughesy.
Get out there, mate.
You just get out there and you swing that bat, my friend. You have some fun. There's no consequences to your actions. Even if we lose, we'll say that we probably should have won.
They cheated.
You know what? 2.5 days in, we got the gist. We thought we were going to win. Doesn't matter that it rained. We're taking this one. What I loved about that also is it's always great when something's against you, how ambitious people are for reform. Like all reforms should be done in those moments.
Yeah.
Like because suddenly Joe Root's talking about playing Test cricket until 10 o'clock at night in England because it's like daylight, or and I'm just like, these are all good suggestions. I'm up for any of these things, but why do you only suggest them in the circumstance where it would favour you?
That you're 2-1 down, and you're in front in the test. You're 2-1 up, you're behind in the test. He's not making those suggestions, is he? He's just not.
No. Have you ever been to watch Test cricket or cricket of any kind in any other country other than Australia?
No, I think I was at the Oval 4 years ago, actually. It was the World Cup at the Oval. Was it I think the one-day World Cup was there.
The one-day World Cup.
Yeah, like 4 years ago.
Yeah.
So I did go to the Oval and I saw Australia play, actually. But that was a one-day game, and we beat Sri Lanka, I think. So that's the only time I've seen cricket played in England. And I don't think I have been to another country. So, no. So, all my cricket's been in Australia, SCG, MCG a lot. I was at Adelaide Oval actually earlier in the year. That's an amazing place to watch cricket. So how about you? Have you?
No. And so that's one of my – it was when I was younger, it was one of my big dreams was to go and watch Test match cricket in all of the places where they play Test match cricket. Like, I'm fascinated by India as a country.
Yes.
I would love to go and watch like the cricket in India. Obviously, like the West Indies used to be. So, I mean, it's a bit dangerous, the Caribbean now. Some people tell me that like, going on a tour of the Caribbean to watch cricket might not be the safest
to thrill ride
thing that I've ever done in my entire life. But it sounds pretty fun. I don't think I could go on a tour. Like I couldn't, they organise like there'll be like a Merv Hughes.
Merv seems to be never at home. You look there. There's Merv sipping on beer with about 40 blokes around him. So,
I mean, it doesn't seem like a bad way to live your life, though, does it?
No, it doesn't.
Because I can't imagine that Merv's doing the daily admin on those trips. I assume that Merv's got a person who organises it, and Merv just has to rock up.
Yeah. Yeah, where else would you go? South Africa, like Cape Town? That looks beautiful, doesn't it? I've never been.
I would love to watch it. I mean, the most achievable one of all, which I can't believe I've never done, is New Zealand. I think, like New Zealand is just a quick flight. I should go and watch in New Zealand, and I would love to go to Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka looks beautiful, like to watch.
Colombo. Well, my wife's mum's from Sri Lanka, so it would be I should break the family as a homecoming. So I've got quarter Sri Lankan children, so they should see where they've come from. So. Yeah,
exactly. See some of the team they can support if Australia starts going busted at some stage.
I'm a bit connected to the Sri Lankan community here in Melbourne. I'm connected to the Sri Lankan community through my wife's family. So I did a gig recently and was presented afterwards. It was I think Dillard. I think he put me onto a gig and I did, and as a gift I was given a set of coins, memorial coins from when Sri Lanka won the World Cup one day. Do you know what year that was?
Okay.
Sri Lanka won the World Cup. Back in the day. What year was that?
I don't know.
Well, anyway, they did. They won the. When was it? I need to Google that. When did Sri Lanka?
I'm gonna Google it right
when
now.
When did Sri Lanka win the
World Cup? Have Sri Lanka won the World Cup? They won the 1996
World Cup. Yeah. So.
Versus Australia, of course.
Yes.
Which is probably why you remember it so distinctly. I remember that was the start of. That really felt like the start of this modern form of IPL style 2020 cricket. Those Sri Lankans used to just smash us all over the joint.
Yeah. Anyway, so that was I don't know what the point of the story is, but the fact I've got these coins.
The point of the story is
I've got these coins, and the Sri Lankans are very proud of that moment. And
and it also Dave Hughes is always willing to do a cashie, even if it's Sri Lankan memorial coins.
Exactly. I haven't tried to cash them in. But,
do you have to give one of the Sri Lankan memorial? Do you have to give 15% of your Sri Lankan memorial coins to your manager?
I've lost one of those coins actually. So there's one missing. I don't know why. I don't know where that coin went. But what I'm saying is that cricket means a lot. It means a lot to a lot of people around the world, basically.
It really does, though. That cultural imprint of cricket. So as an Australian, I mean, you're a huge fan of a whole bunch of different sports. Carlton Football Club in the AFL, of course. I know you're a huge basketball watcher as well. Where does cricket sort of rate for you? Do you feel like you're back into cricket? It feels like for me at the moment that this test series, India earlier in the year, then this test series, the World Test Championship, the Ashes, it feels like at the moment there is a lot of attention around cricket, a renewed enthusiasm maybe around cricket. What has it been for you?
I've never lost enthusiasm for cricket. I've always supported. I'm such a patriot, whether Australians are playing any sport, whatever. I'm invested in Australians winning, and I feel like if Australians win, I win. So, and cricket's always been right up there. Cricket, whether I watch it or not, I know the score of any Test match Australia are playing in anywhere in the world. I'll know the score, and if I don't know the score, I need to find out the score. So, I'll wake up. This time doing early morning radio, I wake up, and the first thing I do is, how do we go? The other morning where it was is it going to rain or not? I hope it rains or not. Is it a rain or not? Or it rained or not? I punch the air. 4:30 in the morning, I'm punching the air. We won. We won.
You know what I love about that is I also got up, different reasons, but I got up to check whether it was still raining, and it was say about 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning, and I was like, it's rain for the rest of the day, and I also was like, done, well done. Well done, rain.
Personal, it's like a personal accomplishment from us that it's raining in England. It's like
we did it. We did it.
And my day's better. I'm not going to lie, my day's better. It made everything easier. So.
Does it mean more against the English still, and why do you think that is?
Oh, look, the English, it's still number one, obviously, just because it always has been.
So why is that? What's the?
Because it's the home country. It's just the age old enemy. It's and they're just such wankers. You know what I mean? So it's they look down on us. There's no doubt.
Yes,
the English look down on us as a culture. So to beat them in cricket is fun. So
I think it is as simple as that, isn't it?
I was in a lift the other day, and two English blokes were talking about how bad Qantas was, and in front of me, they didn't know me. They didn't know that I was a celebrity in this country. But the point is that, I have my own issues with the Qantas, don't get me wrong. Yeah. But I don't need English people slagging off my airline. You know what I mean? I'm like, I want to do, when they left, I want to go, well, what about British Airways, you fuckheads?
Yeah, exactly.
How good are they?
Mate, I've been arrested on a Qantas plane, and I still would prefer to be arrested on a bloody Qantas plane than any other plane around the world. So that British Australian thing is interesting to me. Obviously, the story of the Ashes, like why it's so important. This game that England invented and Australia perfected. That's kind of the idea of it, right? Like, is that? But what do you think about the face swap of I guess ideologies, like the way they're playing versus the way we're playing, like baseball in general? Like, are you excited about this style of cricket that England has brought to the table?
I am. Yeah, I am. I'm happy that they've brought it to the table, and I think it could be really good for cricket around the world and bring more. I watch Test cricket, but I like seeing people in the crowd. I don't like that there's a lot of places where cricket's played that no one turns up. And so if that's going to help people turn up around the world, I'm all for it. So, I do. Apart from, wanting the English to lose everything, I am, I think they've done well with it. Absolutely.
Okay, yeah, it's pretty exciting. And and this has been an incredible series. And look, to be honest, I do think that if it ended up 2-2 with us retaining the Ashes but not sort of winning the series, it would probably be very fair to them. But also, on the other hand, fuck them.
Yeah, fuck them. Yeah,
so I would like to see.
I want 3-1. I want them
exactly
destroy them in the. Yeah, so there's
two things I'd be happy with. One is 3-1. That's my ideal first position, with Dave Warner making a huge big 100 to say fuck you for the final time in England. Second favourite option is it just rains out and we win 2-1. we
win 2-1 after, we're 9 down in our second innings and we're still 500 behind their first innings score. We're 9 down.
Yeah, and then it rains for 4 days because that's all happened on the first day.
Right. That might be number one. Actually, that's number one. That's the number one option.
They make 500 by tea. We're 9 down for 8. And then it rains for 4 days.
I like that.
Okay, so look, do you have we'll wrap it up soon because I know we both have a bunch of things to do today, but so final test going into it, that's our ideal scenario is Australia wins or we draw terribly in the rain. Team selection, do you believe that they probably will keep David Warner for the final test? Is that
I'd say that you will. Yeah, I don't. I imagine they will, and you've helped convince me that they probably will. And I really do want him to go out on top. So I hope he plays well. And look, as a Victorian, I'd love to see a Boland come back in. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't reckon. And your idea about NASA, who I'm not as across as you are, it does sound exciting to me. So maybe that is a good idea. And I'm going to go with you on that one. So
I hope they play NASA. Yeah. Like that's my big. I wanted them to play him in the previous test. I just think he brings a bit of variety with his bowling that the others don't. But anyway, we'll see what selection is. None of my selections have been correct during this series. So luckily, I'm not one of the Australian selectors.
What day? I should know, but when's it start?
It's in a couple of days. Yeah, right. It starts very soon.
Great.
So
fantastic.
Yeah, we're going to be done by next week. So thank you to everybody who's been listening to this podcast. Thank you, David, for joining me today for Two Guys, One Earn. I really appreciate that as well.
It's fun.
And people can listen to your radio show, of course.
Yeah, Naren, which is on the Sydney Breakfast Show, but you can hear it around the network at 6 p.m. on the Hit Network or via podcast. So, I'm doing a show also Enmore Theatre in September, so anyone in Sydney.
Brilliant.
Yeah, so looking forward to that.
Okay. Hughesy, still one of the absolute greatest Australian stand-ups of all time. So, you just got to go and see him live. So, at the Enmore, go and see that. I'm doing some improvised shows, what you're talking about, Will, at the Sydney Comedy Store over the next few months as well.
Great.
So, I'd love you to see you come down and see those. Talk to me about, you mentioned Shane Warne. Did you have the opportunity to meet him a few times over your journey in the media?
Yeah, definitely. Warnie he always looked you in the eye, and he was very present when he was speaking to you, which is was lovely, and obviously a legend, a real gentleman, Shane Warne, who charmed everyone he met, and rightly so. So my one abiding memory, when I was doing the openings of Logies one year, I was doing a joke about Warnie because he had just been on I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here. So I'm backstage just before the Logies, it's going to go live. And I asked the producers, I said, because you want the people you're joking about to be in the room. Mm-hmm. You're like, because if they're in the room and you do a joke and they laugh at the joke, it's, everyone knows it's okay. They don't think you mean.
That's great. Or it goes to them and they absolutely don't laugh.
And it's even better.
And then that becomes a meme on the internet, and you really love that if they just don't buy into the joke at all.
And so, but Warnie wasn't in the producer said, we can't see Warnie. And I literally had to run around the Crown Casino to try to find him. I thought, I bet he's in the smoking area. So I'm about to, open the logs. I'm about to walk out. It's live on TV. So there's I'm in massive time pressure. But I found him in the smoking area. I said, Warnie, you got to get in there, man. I'm about to do a joke about you. So, and then Warnie's just, and he said, "Nah, I won't let you down, Hughesy." And he butted out his cigarette and he walked in there, and there he was, front and center. And the joke went well, and he was a funny man, and I love Warnie. And so he's got the stand named after him, which is very apt. So and he's got a lovely family. So there you go.
Is there a comedy like when you're done at the end of your career? Is there something you'd like named after you? Can we? I like this idea. Like it's not really a thing that happens. I mean, sometimes they do it with a theater or like whatever. Is there some? Oh, look, thing. What would be the ultimate?
Yeah, for me, look, I love
Dave Hughes tribute.
I love dropping into like comedy clubs everywhere, basically. So. Yeah. God, where would be some? What am I known for? I don't know.
Where's the equivalent? So Warnie's, done his best. He's from Victoria. He's done his best work at the MCG. It makes sense to have a stand at the MCG, but it's also got to be somewhere that people go to do things so that they can see the name up there and they can celebrate.
Yeah.
So where is that? Where are people going to?
Oh God, it's a good.
I mean, that's a hard question.
I remember we both really started at the SB Hotel in St Kilda in Melbourne, didn't we? So back in those early days of like Sunday afternoons and Tuesday nights. So and that the Esplanade Hotel St Kilda is a beautiful hotel. It's starting to do a bit more comedy.
And you have also lived in that area of the world, so that's good. A good association with.
There's a Paul Kelly. Mural on the side of that hotel, and I'd love to be next to Paul Kelly.
Yeah.
That would be
just in it. Just put me in Paul's mural. Just I don't need my own mural. Just pop me in the back of Paul's.
That would be good. There's so many nervous trips to that hotel. The nerves. The nerves when you first start doing stand-up comedy. The nerves on the way to the venue. Oh God, it's like you're going out of bat, isn't it?
Well. That's interesting to me. I know we're going to finish up in a second, but just quickly talk to me about that, because you talk about when you were a kid, that performance anxiety of like it kept you from being able to be a good cricketer, right? At the start of comedy, it is absolutely the same.
Yes.
Like I remember I can't remember when I stopped
to face the West Indies. Yeah,
right. Whereas after a while, I used to speak about, I had Steve Waugh on the radio show many, many years ago, and I asked him about batting to the West Indian bowlers, and I said to him, how when the ball's coming at your head at 95, miles an hour, how do you have time to decide, I'm going to hook it or I'm going to cut it or I'm going to leave it or whatever it is that I'm going to do? And he said, well, actually, you technically don't have time to make that decision. He said, what you got to do is you got to train and you've got to prepare and then you've got to get out there and you've got to get out of your own head and just try to trust your instincts and hope that all the work you've done will just actually work like in that moment. You've got to stop thinking and you've just got to start playing. And I always love that, when I thought about comedy, which is that idea of at the start, you are very much thinking about, and then I'll do this, and then I'll do this. But once you get good at it, like a lot of the time it is just like, let it come out, let it be what it is. And of course you're better at it because you're less nervous, right? Like the nerves aren't actually helpful to you after a while. So do you think, because there must have been a point in your comedy career when you went from being like ultra nervous to going, okay, I got this. Now I can be better because I've got the confidence. Do you think that you would have been a better cricketer, like if you could have just overcome that in cricket as well?
Mate.
Like
absolutely, yeah. If I had been able to, sort of train my mind or tame my mind, I could have. Mate, I could have been playing for Australia. I could have made it.
I mean, down at the Melbourne Storm, they're still talking about what they call the ball of the century.
Exactly.
the real ball of the century.
He's talking about the ball of the century.
Mate, if you've ever run into Mark Taylor at anything, you can't shut up about air conditioners and Hughesy's ball of the century. They're his two favourite topics.
Tubby'd remember it.
Dave, thank you very much for doing this today, mate.
Good on you, Will.
Listener.